Buckeyes blasted the Badgers last week and certainly blasted that point spread as well. We got Steve Merrill on the line from Wager Talk to help us break down Ohio State and Rutgers. You can check out Steve's videos across our Voice of College Football channels, and also mostly catch him on wagertalk.com for college football, the NFL, Major League Baseball, and the NBA coming up soon. The Buckeyes, a big favorite, of course, at home, taking on Rutgers. It's at 39.5. Steve, these sometimes become a little bit difficult in regards to a heavy favorite, and how much are they going to destroy the other team? Where do you stand on this one?
Yeah, first we'll look at the line move in this game. It opened as low as 39.40, went up to 41 earlier in the week, and as you mentioned, as we head close to the weekend now, we're seeing a lot of 39s out there. There's still some 40s floating around, so a little bit of an up and down. So I always rely on my power ratings as a starting point for all these games that we discuss, and my math model favors Ohio State by 44, so I do think there's actually a little bit of line value still. And my math models in general normally favorite the big favorites, and that's really the only way I usually recommend playing these games, because I'm not a fan of backing teams that I don't think can win the game. And I think we would all agree Rutgers cannot win this game. In fact, if you want to play the straight-up money line, I haven't even seen one yet on this game. That's how big of a favorite they are. So Ohio State's going to win. Like you said, Mark, it's a question of how much they want to win by. And with the road game at Michigan State next week, you do get a little concerned there's a look ahead here, right? And they're also coming off a fairly big game against Wisconsin. Keep in mind, after the Notre Dame win as a 17-point favorite back in week 1, they did play Arkansas State at home as a 44.5-point favorite. They only won 45-12, failed to cover, barely scored the point spread, came out the next week, blew out Toledo, and then they covered against Wisconsin. So you could call for a little bit of a flat spot here, and it's also going to be their first true road game of the season next week, week 6, the first true road game of the year for the Buckeyes when they travel. So I don't think it's a great spot here. With that said, though, the only way you could probably recommend playing it is Ohio State, because Rutgers is not an explosive offensive team, and those that have followed our videos and discussions over the years know that if you're hoping for a backdoor cover, you better hope your team has some offense, and I'm not sure Rutgers necessarily fits that bill. And they don't throw the ball well, especially. Rutgers can actually run the ball, but they can't throw the ball. And that's just not the recipe for playing from behind against a really good team. And Ohio State can lay it on. As I mentioned earlier, they put up 77 against Toledo a few weeks ago. They might not be able to help but win this one by 40 or more, even with the look ahead.
What I find amusing, Steve, and we talk about the over-under as well, is that we discussed, of course, Rutgers and Iowa last week, and that being one of the lowest point or over-unders that we've seen, and they did go over a 37 of a 34.5, but it took Iowa scoring 2 defensive touchdowns, so it almost proved the point.
Yeah, it's 27-10 final. It goes over barely, like you said, and that was a bad. I mean, I think we would all agree that's a bad beat, right? I mean, because offensively it did not go over, and yes, that puts in perspective, how challenged Rutgers is, and I was allowing less than 6 points a game this year, but I think we could all argue Ohio State's defense is pretty good as well. So hard to see Rutgers scoring here, and I don't like to take these bets where it's kind of a hope and just they can get a late touchdown or something, because it normally doesn't work out too well.
Folks, got to get on over to wagertalk.com. Check out Steve's picks and also the money management system right there, wagertalk.com. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Mark.